place. And it's a great place to be in. You know, we're now going to be a part of a revenue sharing model, which is historic for the WNBA and really for the future to come. And how does that work? How is the money split? How is it separated?
Now, I got to ask the question that obviously everyone wants to know is, you know, are you feeling better about the WNBA season now, or are we still just kind of, you know, wait to see what happens?
I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like the owners are finally like really acknowledging and being receptive of what we want, and the players as well. You know, we all had to kind of put our business hats on and get into that mindset, and I'm hoping we can get this.
That shift in tone isn't just one player backing down. It signals something much bigger. When Breanna Stewart, one of the most influential voices within the WNBA Players Association, publicly emphasizes the need to get this done quickly, because missed games would mean lost money under a revenue-sharing model, it reflects a meaningful change in strategy. It shows the players are no longer speaking purely from principle, but from a business perspective. For months, the public conversation around the CBA negotiations has been sharply divided. One side arguing that the players' demands exceed the league's financial reality, and the other insisting that wealthy ownership groups should simply absorb the cost. What Stewart's comments suggest, however, is that even within the players' ranks, there is growing recognition that their approach may have leaned too hard, and that prolonged conflict could ultimately hurt everyone involved, especially under a system where revenue directly impacts player earnings.
Common ground here. It was interesting to me that she ended up stating, "This is a business now." You know, it kind of insinuates that some of the women didn't necessarily think that the WNBA was a business already. So, I mean, honestly, when we think about it, side two, when she was sitting out those games, when she kind of got mad at the coach for sitting her out, I don't know, man. Look, anything could have been happening, but it did look like she was sitting out because of the coach benching her. Right. So, you know, things like that, I think she's speaking on that. Like, you can't just do whatever you want.
It's striking to hear Breanna Stewart say, "This is a business now," as if the WNBA hadn't always operated that way. But her framing underscores a deeper point. Some recent player decisions haven't always reflected a strictly business-first mindset. Situations like Stewart's own time in Connecticut, when she sat out after being benched, or Dejanay Carrington missing the final September 2024 game against Indiana, a move many interpreted as frustration over her role, appeared driven more by emotion and principle than partnership economics. Those choices may resonate when the focus is respect or personal standing, but they become harder to justify under a revenue-sharing model where missed games directly impact collective earnings. Stewart's acknowledgement of that reality carries weight precisely because of who she is: a two-time WNBA champion and two-time Finals MVP, widely viewed as one of the league's defining figures. When she talks about compromise and thinking like business owners, it sends a message inside locker rooms. As reported by ESPN on February 6th, the league's revised CBA proposal already included meaningful concessions on housing standards and facility upgrades, though it held firm on revenue-sharing percentages, reinforcing that both sides are negotiating within financial limits, not just ideology.
On a scale of 1 through 10, how confident are you that there will be a full WNBA season? Now, here are some of the answers here. Somebody said, "I think we're going to have a season. I don't know if it'll be the whole season." Now, that could be a thing too, as we're getting backed up with 2 expansion drafts, the free agent, right? Free agency, and then also the draft itself for college players, right? So we're backed up, man. We're backed up. I don't know how they're gonna squeeze all of that into before the season start, but man, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But somebody also said, "I feel like we're asking for a lot. I know we deserve it, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're kind of getting greedy." Oof.
An anonymous player survey published by ESPN offers a revealing look at where the Players Association truly stands, as CBA talks drag into February 2025 with training camp looming in April. One player rated her confidence in a full season at only a 6 or 7 out of 10, suggesting belief that games will be played but uncertainty about whether the season would be completed. Even more telling was another player's candid admission. "I feel like we're asking for a lot. I know we deserve it, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're kind of getting greedy. We're doing a lot of asking. I feel like we need to do a lot of doing." That perspective didn't come from critics or commentators. It came from inside the union, highlighting the internal tensions surrounding the negotiations. While players are pushing for a revenue-sharing model similar to the NBA's, where athletes receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income, the WNBA's financial reality remains far different. Despite a surge in 2024 driven by the star power of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which boosted attendance by 38% and delivered record viewership, one breakout season does not immediately offset nearly 3 decades of inconsistent profitability.
And kind of squash the idea that Unrivaled is trying to rival the WNBA. As you can see in this article, it states, Alex Basil shuts down imagined conflict between Unrivaled and the WNBA. Again. All right, he did it once already, but he came back and doubled back. I'm pretty sure because of Natasha Cloud. I'm telling you, man, Natasha Cloud has been making it seem like, hey, look, we don't need the W. We can stay right in here and keep playing. We can play Unrivaled year round if we want to. And in this article, you will see that that's not the goal of Unrivaled. They don't necessarily want to take the spot of the WNBA, and Unrivaled actually gets fed off of the WNBA because that's where most people are watching right now, and that's where the players can actually take their fan base and try to bring them over into Unrivaled. So as we start here, this is something that Basil ended up saying, okay? So he said, we want the WNBA CBA to get done. All right, Basil told the host, the WNBA running and operating continuously growing is great marketing exposure for our league because a lot of the top players that play there play with us. That's a fact. And that's what I was saying is it doesn't make sense to try to rival the WNBA because you're going to...
This is where Unrivaled enters the equation and adds another layer to the CBA negotiations. In February, co-founder Alex Bazel publicly pushed back on claims that Unrivaled is trying to compete with the WNBA, arguing instead that the league's success directly fuels Unrivaled's growth. He's not wrong. Unrivaled's visibility depends heavily on established WNBA stars, and most casual fans discover these players during traditional WNBA season, not through off-season 3-on-3 play. Still, there's an undeniable complexity. Several players involved in CBA discussions also hold financial stakes in Unrivaled, including Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. That dual role, negotiating on behalf of players while also serving as business stakeholders in a venture that benefits from more calendar space, creates at least a perceived conflict of interest. No one is accusing anyone of deliberately stalling talks, but if the WNBA season were delayed or shortened, Unrivaled could theoretically gain flexibility to expand its footprint. Natasha Cloud has amplified that tension by suggesting on social media that players could lean into Unrivaled if WNBA demands aren't met, prompting Bazel to reiterate that Unrivaled sees itself as complementary, not competitive. The league's February showcase in Philadelphia drew 21,000 fans across 2 games, a strong showing. Yet its star power ultimately depends on the WNBA spending 6 months each year building and sustaining those player brands.
But you have Aaliyah Boston, who made the team, Paige Beckers, Sonia Citron, Caitlin Clark, Kay Kopp, Chelsea Gray, Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, Kiki Arifin, Kelsey Plum.
When USA Basketball unveiled its 12-player roster for World Cup qualifier on February 10th, the selection offered a clear snapshot of the league's present and future direction. The veteran core remains powerful, featuring established champions like Breanna Stewart, Aya Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, and Jackie Young, players with Olympic gold medals and championship resumes. At the same time, the youth movement is impossible to ignore, with rising stars such as Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, Aaliyah Boston, Cameron Brink, and Rickea Jackson representing the league's next wave. Many of them are rookies from 2024 or entering just their 2nd or 3rd seasons, signaling a generational pivot already underway. By the time the 2028 Olympics arrive in Los Angeles, the roster will likely look significantly different from the group that competed in Paris. Stewart will be 32 and Wilson 31, still potentially dominant, but no longer the emerging faces of the program. The center of gravity is clearly shifting toward Clark, Reese, Boston, and Buchers, and that evolution underscores why the current CBA negotiations are so critical. The league's economic structure over the next decade will shape how this new era is built and sustained.
Boston's going to be something special. You understand me? Oh my goodness, man. The way she has been balling, I've been loving it. I can't wait to see her this year. I think we're going to have a season, man.
Aaliyah Boston is on the verge of becoming an even bigger matchup nightmare than she has already shown. During the offseason in unrivaled play, she flashed a more confident three-point shot, an area that was inconsistent during her WNBA rookie campaign, hinting a new dimension to her offensive game. As a rookie in 2023, Boston averaged 14.5 points and 8.9 rebounds, immediately establishing herself as a dominant interior presence. In 2024, after Caitlin Clark joined the Indiana Fever, Boston's scoring dipped slightly to 13.5 points per game, but her efficiency remained elite at 57% from the field as she adjusted to playing alongside one of the league's most ball-dominant guards. If she enters the 2025 season with legitimate three-point range to pair with Clark's passing vision, Indiana's pick-and-pop action could become nearly impossible to guard. Defenses that once sagged off Boston at the elbow will be forced to extend, making Clark's drive and kick game exponentially more dangerous and stretching coverage to its breaking point.